Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Michael Kelly with the WLPGA Association, and you are joining us for a Zoom In, which is a new communications product that we have at the WLPGA focusing on a specific issue. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Lorena Perez Bajo from Ipieca, and we are going to be discussing preparations for the COP27, which will be taking place in November in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Many of you will remember that last year, COP26 in Glasgow was a huge event with huge implications for our industry. Ipieca is an organization that's very involved in preparations for COP27, as well as many other things. And Lorena is going to explain to us a little bit about what they do. Lorena, Ipieca is very active and very effective, in my opinion, in explaining the UNFCCC process to its members, which WLPGA is one. Can you give us a little background on what Ipieca is and how long you've had this role, and is it set to continue into the future?
Good, great. Thanks a lot, Michael, for first inviting Ipieca to this discussion. And I would like to start by saying that Ipieca is the global association for advancing environmental and social performance across the energy transition. And Ipieca has attended every single COP since COP1, which was in Berlin in 1995. And as a non-lobby organization, Ipieca's role is to provide technical inputs and industry feedback on the issues that are under discussion at that time. And during COP events, we make use of our UNFCCC observer status to monitor the negotiations and hold our own official site events, and to support the debate on relevant topics. And we also take part in events held by governments and other organizations and host meetings in the conference sidelines. And once COP events are finished, we provide our members with briefings on the event and ensure the outcomes are reflected in our work plan.
Wow.
And as you maybe something more to mention, and you might probably know, Ipieca was formed at the request of the UNEP, the UN Environment Program, in 1974, and today we remain the industry's principal channel of engagement with the UN. So Ipieca and its members support the Paris Agreement, which was reached at COP21 in 2015, and commit all countries to undertake action on climate and report their progress for the first time. And maybe I could say also that in addition to our role at COP events and as the industry UN interface, Ipieca provides platforms to convene climate, environment, and social performance and sustainability experts from our member companies, bringing together with key stakeholders to develop and share good practice to support the energy transition holistically. And for example, our dedicated climate change group, which was set up in 1988, convenes climate experts from the oil and gas industry with those from NGOs, IGOs, academia, and other sectors to assess and better understand climate science and energy policy, enhance energy efficiency, and also raise awareness of the energy transition enablers, so helping the industry to be part of the climate change solution.
Wow, it is a lot that you do. And I should state to everybody that WPGA is a member of several working groups in Ipieca to do with communications and climate change, and the task force that you have, which is working on the COPs. Let me circle back because I think much has changed between Glasgow last year and COP27 today. So what outcomes does Ipieca expect from COP7? Just anecdotally, we're hearing a lot less in the media about COP27, which may be due to the unsettled geopolitical context. But do you think there is a lowering of ambitions as opposed to in Glasgow, or maybe there were unrealistic ambitions going in?
Well, the presidency for COP27 outlined 4 pillars of the conference, which are mitigation, adaptation, finance, and collaboration. And of course, science should be the basis for all work moving forward. So the point of departure in dealing with all of these issues. And I think that clearly the road to COP27 is marked by the release of the IPCC working groups 2 and 3 reports, so on adaptation and mitigation respectively. So the talks in Egypt will also need to deliver progress in other areas. But aside from acting on the commitments already agreed upon at Glasgow, countries are charged with updating their 2030 emission reduction targets by the end of 2022, by the end of this year. And while early analysis saw the updated pledge at Glasgow could result in temperature increase between 1.8 and 2 degrees, greater ambition is needed at COP27 to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. And nationally determined contributions, as the pledges are known, need to be aligned with strategies to achieve them. And this is where a partnership approach between and across companies, industry, and civil society will be key. And yeah, finance, and in particular for adaptation, is another top priority and obstacle for Sharm el-Sheikh. So developed countries are already struggling to meet their 2020 commitment of $100 billion per year of climate finance. And there is a request for this level to double from 2025. And also adaptation and loss and damage will rank high on the agenda for this.
So it's a complicated situation.
It is, yeah.
It is. Lorena, let's shift gears a little bit. And I wanted to ask you a question on what you think the oil and gas industry can be doing to support successful outcomes, not just in COP27, but beyond, in COP28, COP29, COP30. So as part of the UNFCCC process.
Well, this is actually a very good question. And there are critical issues that remain on the Paris Rulebook agenda, but working on this had to proceed in parallel with the implementation on the ground. So the oil and gas industry can support COP27 and the realization of the Paris Agreement objectives, plus also the commitments made in Glasgow and beyond in many sectors. So areas that are being actively supported in the delivery by the industry are, for example, the global methane pledge to collectively reduce methane emissions by 30% below 2020 levels by 2030, or the International Aviation Climate Ambition Coalition, which aims to reduce CO2 emissions from aviation to net zero by 2050, and the Clyde Bank Declaration for Green Shipping Corridors to establish 6 zero-emission maritime routes by 2025. So Ipieca believes the oil, gas, but also the alternative energy industries have a key role to play in the energy transition by working to provide affordable and reliable energy, which is needed to support growth and improve living conditions, with decreasing emissions to support a net zero world. So further, the industry is an essential partner when it comes to research, to development and operation of new lower carbon energy and mobility solutions that can meet global needs. So businesses can bring technical and commercial know-how to the discussions, and they can explain what support they need from governments and others to develop lower carbon businesses and supply chains. And in the pre-COP 27 workshops, we have heard positive comments on the role of the industry in supporting the global goal on adaptation to strengthen resilience to climate change, with the understanding that industry can support with good practice, with planning and monitoring tools, and technology transfer to help address this issue at national, regional, but also at global levels.
No, oh wow, that's good. That's excellent. I think one of the things that really resonated with me was when you mentioned how industry should be working with governments to understand where the opportunities are to develop low carbon businesses. I think that's something that we as an industry can take aboard, particularly with through our national and regional associations. Lorena, I'd like to turn our attention now to the fact that COP27 is supposed to be an African COP. And with a focus on issues that are impacting that continent. We haven't heard that much about that, but in your opinion, are the negotiations shaping up to be focused on issues that impact Africa?
Yeah, definitely there are some key things that will be under discussion. So one theme Egypt is looking to advance at COP27 is just transition. And that means respecting the rights of communities and workforces, whether they are affected by the transition out of existing operations or by the development of new lower carbon energy, making low carbon energy affordable and reliable for all, protecting the interest of vulnerable groups and making progress on the SDGs, on the Sustainable Development Goals. And I also will say that energy access is a key issue. While we have made progress with over 1 billion people gaining access to electricity since 2010, recent data shows that about 759 million people live without electricity. So in regions such as sub-Saharan Africa, where half of secondary schools and a quarter of health facilities have no power, energy access could help save lives and offer opportunities for prosperity at a transformative scale. Apologies. And so while we clearly have a long way to go to ensure an energy transition which is just and fair for all, the COP can act as a turning point. And also to add that Ipieca has been pleased with the COP27 Egyptian presidency call for all parties to work together to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, and is committed to regular, inclusive, and meaningful dialogue with a wide spectrum of stakeholders. So this call for all parties to work together will hopefully be reiterated throughout the conference and heard far and wide.
Thank you for that comprehensive answer, Lorena. And certainly where the issues of energy access are concerned, the LPG as an industry has a very strong role to play. And we're active on the African continent, bringing energy to communities that currently lack it. Lorenz Perez Bajo from Ipieca, thank you so much for being with us and explaining your view on what's happening in COP27.
Thank you so much. It has been my pleasure, and thanks a lot for inviting Ipieca to this conversation.
It's our pleasure to have you. My name is Michael Kelly. Let me remind you that the World LPG Association will be active on the ground at Sharm el-Sheikh. We plan to hold a side event during the first week of COP27, which will run from the 7th of November until the 18th of November. We will be representing the interests of the LPG industry. Thank you for joining us. This has been a WLPGA Zoom In. Join us again soon, where we have these type of discussions focused on issues that are impacting the LPG industry, your industry. Thank you so much, and see you again soon.